Hello YouTube, this is Mahadev the Thunder Wizard. Today we're just going to talk about happiness. What you're looking at here is the cover for a book that I wrote a long time ago, and I just redid the cover because I'm doing an audiobook version. I'm just waiting for it to get approved, and this is the picture that I came up with for it. And I thought it was really awesome. So I thought we would talk about it. And since that's what we're going to experience with, with the solar flash, I thought that we would, the solar flash, that thing right there, the happy sun, I thought we would talk about it. So as you know, I've been going through quite a lot the past, 5 months. My life has completely, totally been shattered and put back together again. And my understanding of the universe has shifted. And you know what's really cool is the stuff that I knew inside of me about how the universe should be. Turns out that's what it is. That Earth, 3D Earth, is a totally bizarro, upside down world. It's completely upside down from the rest of the universe. And it is a very challenging place. And living in 3D is an experience of being isolated within your own mind, within your own heart. You never really know what anybody's thinking. You never really know if you can trust anybody. You never really know what's going on outside of yourself. And even then, you don't know what you're thinking half the time because you have this thing called the unconscious. You're not aware of what's going on in your unconscious mind. So I guess I'd like to start off this live stream by giving you an opportunity to just sit and what is your relationship to happiness? What is your relationship to being happy? And let's see, how can I best direct this? Do you feel that happiness is something outside of your grasp? Do you think that it is something that will come to you from something outside of you? Are you a happy person? I guess there are people who are just happy. You grew up in a house like I did. Well, that definitely wasn't my case. In fact, when I was in my late 20s, when I'd walk down the street, literally everybody, there would be like Moses parting the Red Sea. Everybody would just get out of my way. Even if I was just looking straight down at the ground, I mean, I had so much anger in me, people would just back away from me. So happiness is something that I've had to work. Not only work hard to get, but work hard to obtain. But what if all of a sudden everything changed and happiness was the easiest thing you could have? What's gotten me thinking about this is that, was it today? It was yesterday. Yesterday, it was yesterday. Yesterday I spent all day recording and uploading things from previous books. And my second book, Happiness, which never went anywhere. And what was interesting is I haven't looked at that book in probably 15 years or whenever it was, 2014, when I first wrote it. 8 years, all right. And it never went anywhere. And the truth is I did it because I was just following instructions. Now I know I have a direct connection. I have a direct line to my, the ascended masters. I have a direct line to them, and we communicate. Before, it was the normal way where you sometimes maybe got some intuitions and you didn't know where it came from. But now, the veil is gone and I have a direct connection with them. And by the way, that doesn't mean I'm special. Just want to be clear about that. Nothing special about me. It's because I did that thing I keep telling you about, which is called CE5. And if you want that, you can do it yourself. And I think everybody who has the slightest interest in it should give it a try. Because we are headed towards a completely different world. We're headed towards a world where we will have direct access to our guardian angels, our higher selves, our ascended masters, whatever words you want to use. We're going to have a world where they will be more accessible to us than our friends that we text. You pick up, nowadays it's really easy to stay connected with people. It's a lot harder. I'm that old man. It was a lot harder when I was a kid. We had to pick the phone up off the wall. We used to have phones on walls in our home that had huge cords that, you would wrap around the corner and take into the bathroom with you. You have to pick the phone up off the wall and you have to dial on this rotary thing. And if the line was busy, you couldn't get through. If nobody answered, you couldn't get through. You had to leave a message and you didn't know if people were going to get it. Nowadays, you just pick up your phone and text anybody instantly. So imagine having connection to your higher selves that was even more direct than being able to text somebody. Because text, you have to figure out this is why we created emojis. Because text doesn't have any emotions to it, and we don't respond well if you don't know what the emotions are of the other person. So that's why we have these emojis. But what if you could connect directly to your higher selves and feel the emotional connection as well as the mental and spiritual connection? You can feel how they're feeling as they communicate their feelings to you. What would you do if you lived a life where, as I said before, happiness was the easiest thing? All you have to do is just not do anything, and the first thing that happens is that happiness starts to well up inside of you. So I was looking at my book here, which now I'm like, wow, that was a really good book. And again, it was stuff that I was doing because I was not in a happy place. I'd just gotten out of a horrible divorce. I had nothing. I was absolutely, completely broke. I had nothing. I had no idea what I was going to do. I hadn't created this business yet. I was just racking my brain trying to figure out how can I create a business doing what I want, because I'm an actor. What skills do I have? I could work at Walmart. I could get into sales again. And I was, back then it was 10 years ago. I was 49. And wow. And so, the idea of starting over again and getting another career, just, I had to use what I had, and I didn't know how to do that. So in that book, I was writing down all of the things that I knew to do to keep myself happy. And in one of them, one of the chapters, I talk about being silly. One of the, I don't know if you know this, but the original meaning for the word silly meant happy. Nowadays, when we call somebody silly, it's a criticism. It means they're being frivolous. It means they're being happy for no reason. We have this belief that you have to have a reason to be happy. You have to earn it. But what if you lived in a world where you could just be silly? You could just be happy for absolutely no reason. And as I was as I was recording that chapter again on the audio book, my friends got very excited. My higher dimensional friends, they got very excited and they were telling me, that's what it's like. Tell people more about that, about being happy and silly for no reason. You don't have to, don't judge yourself for just being crazy, silly, happy like a little child. Little children know what it's all about. They get happy for no reason. They run around and scream and yell and laugh, and they just have fun. It's the first thing they do. And that is the essence of what goes on the spiritual level. That's what it's like when we're no longer trapped in the isolated experience of 3D. We get to be silly. We get to be happy. It's true that in this life, it is true that there is trauma. And, trauma specifically is referring to the kind of, pain that stays with you. It breaks you. It damages you. And that kind of trauma is something that we keep and we hold on to. And so I'm not saying at all to deny any negative feelings. Anybody who's watched my channel knows I don't do that. I'm not at all interested in telling you to deny your feelings, because people who deny their feelings because they don't feel worthy. So they pretend. Religion does this all the time. Religion does this, and cults. Religion is cults, same thing. Cults do this all the time. If you're not happy or spiritual, then there's something wrong with you. It's your fault. And so people feel shame if they don't feel happy, The love and light crowd throw that around as well. But, here I am saying pretty much what they're saying is that the focus is just on love and light, but you've got to be authentic. You can't use love and light as an excuse to run away from the trauma. But the good news is that the trauma can be healed. And while you're healing the trauma, you can be deliriously happy. You can be content. And if you're willing to, let me put it to you this way. Every time that you are traumatized, not just you get your feelings hurt and you get over it, but something happens and it traumatizes you. And you hold on to it, and it's a pain that stays with you for years. What has happened is that you have accepted the message of devaluation that goes along with the trauma. And where that message came from, it doesn't matter. Maybe you put that on yourself. People do it to themselves a lot. People create their own misery because, we've learned to be devalued, so we devalue ourselves. I had a friend in high school, and I remember one moment, because he, like me, didn't grow up in the best house in the world, and so he would get this face. And I could always tell when he was uncomfortable, whether we're out somewhere, we were hanging out or out in public or something, or something would happen. And if he got uncomfortable, he would make this face. And I remember seeing it, and the feeling I got was that he's trying to tell the world he's doing something important. Have you ever noticed that people who want to look important, they get this look on their face? But what was really happening is he was devaluing himself. And so what he ended up doing, and he's just an example, but I've done it. I've felt the desire to do it. I see it all around me. When people are angry, like lots of times when people put on an angry front, a lot of times what they're doing is they want to look like they're doing something important. What does that mean? It means that people think that being devalued is important, that they're doing something valuable if they devalue themselves. And we learn that from our parents. In fact, you can watch your parents. I see it now when I see people smoking cigarettes. I used to smoke cigarettes back when you could smoke cigarettes everywhere. Now you can't smoke cigarettes anywhere, and I'm grateful for that. So what people do now is they go outside. They have to go to the worst possible place. They have to go outside next to the smelly trash cans because they can't smoke inside their work, or they can't smoke inside the restaurant. So they have to go, outside next to the outhouse where the bathrooms are. And then they do this thing where they, and they look like they're doing something important. Like they're doing something important. And they're not. They're trying to convince themselves they're doing something important as they smoke. They can't help it. They have to smoke. They're addicted. It's pathetic. In a way, it's good. Before it actually used to be that. People would sit around and they'd smoke, and it would look like they were, doing something. They were, what are you doing? I'm smoking. No, you're just standing out here. I am not. I'm smoking. I'm doing something important. But it's really about that feeling of when you feel devalued and you don't feel like you have any worth, and you got to do something. So you put on a face, or you smoke a cigarette, or you do something. You cross your legs, put your hands like this. You do something to tell people, I'm not a worthless loser who's not doing anything right now. I'm doing something important. What? Well, I've got this angry look on my face. Don't bother me. I'm doing something. And all of that is a way for us to do the opposite of what we can be doing, which is just being crazy, silly, happy. All the time. Like children. And so we get back to what it is that I teach. And so let me tell you again what it is that I teach, and as quickly as I can. This is the assumption. The assumption is, number one, that you are an infinite soul. You are an infinite, God-like being that is made up of nothing but joy. That's your soul. Your soul is made up of pure bliss. That's its essence. That's who you are. You are a soul. And you have come, well, before I get to that, because you are the entire consciousness of all universes, quantum folded into one being, which is your soul. Because of that, the entire multiverse must serve you. Let me repeat myself. Because you are an infinite being of consciousness, you are all of consciousness, quantum folded into one infinitely bright light, which is your soul. Because that's your essence, all of the multiverses must serve you. Not treat you well, be nice to you. They have to serve you. You are God. So you start with that assumption. And because you are that, you become incarnated into 3D flesh. And you forget all of that, because that's the point, to be in a limited environment and learn how to experience things, learn and grow. That's what it's all about. That's why we're here. The infinite wants to learn and grow even more, so it incarnates into human meat bags. And since you are God walking around in a 3D meat bag, then that means 3D must serve you as well. It must do whatever you tell it to do. It has to. And because your essence is made up of pure bliss, then pure bliss does not want to be miserable. Pure bliss wants to experience itself and just be full of bliss all the time. That's all it wants to do. In other words, your soul just wants to screw around all day and do nothing but have fun. That's the essence of the soul. So little kids are living the truth. They're just out playing and having fun. Their whole life is about playing and having fun. They're living, they remember what's important. So since that's who you are, and since what your soul wants more than anything is to be blissful and joyful and happy, then if you do the things that bring you bliss and joy and happiness, then you align with the true nature of the universe, and everything must bow down before you and serve you as the king of the universe, as the king of this planet, the queen of this planet. And so what I teach is to find your soul desire, you listen for the joy. Some people conflate joy with distracting themselves. You know, for instance, probably video games are not your soul's desire. Might be distracting. I mean, there are games I play on my iPad when I'm sitting on the toilet or whatever. I got nothing against that. But it's really not what brings you joy. I don't know what it is, but something brings you joy. Unless you happen to be a video game creator and you're creating new and better video games, I can imagine somebody enjoying that. That could be a joy that you go after. Anyway, so you are infinite bliss within a human body, and your infinite soul wants to enjoy bliss and happiness. And if you are doing that and doing what it takes to have the happiness that your soul wants to have, then the entire universe must bow down and serve you. And so that's really all that we need to do here, is figure out how to get past the clutter so we can get to the joy. But what ends up happening is we buy into the messages of devaluation. Anything that makes you believe that you are not worthy of love simply because you exist. Anything anybody does, anything, any philosophy, any law, anything, any rule, any trend, anything that tells you that you need something other than being alive in order to be worthy of love, that is a message of devaluation. And so where we're headed in this solar flash, when it comes, we'll talk about that in a second. When the solar flash comes, we're headed to a world without devaluation. And when you live in a world without devaluation, you don't judge yourself for anything that you authentically want to do. When you are living your authentic self, the universe doesn't judge you anyway. I mean, that's the amazing thing. It doesn't matter how. I mean, no matter if you think of a person who's done the worst, most horrible things you can imagine, that person is not judged. Higher beings do not judge us for anything. They are only interested in our happiness. That's it. They're only interested in helping us become happy. And here's one of the interesting things I've noticed with higher dimensional beings, is that when I go and I work towards building something that gives me joy, they thank me. I mean, think about this. These are higher dimensional beings. when I'm focusing on creating my own joy, they get deliriously happy and they thank me as though I've done something for them. And you can get the message in that. It means that when you live your highest joy, every other conscious being in the universe experiences that joy and feels it, and they thank you for it. All right, so I am kind of tired today. What was I going to talk about? So the solar flash is coming, and I want to ask you how you feel about the idea of seemingly something outside of you instantly coming and making you happy. Just the first thing that happens to you when you think about that. I can tell you what goes on with me. The first thing that comes to me is I think I don't deserve it. Well, that can't happen. I don't deserve it. And there's a lot of people that have seemingly good arguments against an instant solar flash that will bring higher consciousness and happiness to the world. And the argument goes something along the lines of, nothing's going to come and save us. We have to do it ourselves. And only when we do the work and when we raise the vibration within us, that's what the solar flash is. And that sounds really good. In fact, that would be my first, especially if you talked to me a year ago, I would have said that. I would have said, no, nothing is going to come and save us. We have to work for it ourselves. But that's something somebody says when they want to sound like they're doing something important. Oh, we have to. We can't just just be happy and we can't just be silly happy. I mean, we can't waste time just being happy for no reason. We can't. That's at least for me. That's what it comes from within me. Because it's the only reason I believe that it's going to happen instantaneously is because these guys told me it was. I didn't know anything about it until they told me, yeah, there's going to be this thing called, they just called it the solar wave. There's going to be a solar wave that's going to hit the earth and it's going to bring waves of love and everybody's vibration is going to pop up to the next level. And then I find out there's this thing called the solar flash that other people know about. And if I didn't know from my interactions, I wouldn't buy into that idea. That just sounds too silly. But that's the point. It's time for us to just be silly. Just be happy for no reason. Do the things that make you happy for no reason. And when you can't, because there's trauma, I was going to say this earlier, trauma is a result of building a story around the pain. Somebody rejects you, causes you pain. Somebody's hurtful to you, causes you pain. You don't get what you want out of life, causes you pain. You get disappointed. You get actually really attacked by a psychopathic, narcissistic person who really, truly is horrific, horrible, and mean. Well, the only reason that we hold on to the pain is because we create a story around it. And the story has to do with us being devalued, us being unworthy. And that's what happens. I don't care what the scenario is. Your partner cheats on you. Your parents abuse you. Somebody is mentally cruel to you. Sociopathic companies end up defrauding you, causing you all kinds of harm. banks, jobs. Somebody says you have to have a job. Why? Well, because you can't not have a job. I was watching Judge Judy just a little while ago, and I saw something I'd never seen before, and it blew my mind. Somebody's mother died, and he didn't have any money, and she died in the hospital, and he didn't have any money. He didn't have any money, and it costs money to get a body out of a hospital, and then you have to send it to a funeral home, and funeral homes charge $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 just to bury a body. It costs like $1,500 or something like that to cremate somebody. He didn't have any money, and he was on the verge of getting arrested. There's a law. If you don't pay to have your next of kin's body moved, and then if you don't pay to have somebody bury it for you, they can put you in jail. It just blew my mind. There's just no decency when there isn't, people pay taxes. There should be a little bit of those tax money should be going towards, we got people that, pick up trash and all that, but we don't have anybody that will go and get, an unwanted body. If they can, they're going to find somebody, charge them a lot of money. And if you don't have the money, or if you said, well, my mom's not in there anymore. No, that's a dead body. I don't want that. I'm not doing anything with that. If you said that, you'd go to jail. That's a message of devaluation. The worst time, that could happen, you devalue somebody. So devaluation is anything that tells you that you don't have value simply because you exist. And to believe that the solar flash can't come simply because there's a world full of souls in there who deserve to be happy because they just exist. The earth is here, and there are how many? 7 billion souls, not to mention all the animals. 7 billion human souls on this planet who deserve to experience being completely loved and seen, and who deserve to be crazy, silly, happy for no reason, simply because they exist. And that isn't enough. If the universe has the ability to send a wave of love that will shift everybody up to the next level, why isn't it enough? Why can't we have that? That's the question I've had to ask myself, because my ET friends made it very clear that something sudden is going to come and it's going to shift people. And when I hear the arguments that say, no, we have to do it ourselves, we have to work for it, I understand that. I want to go that way, but I know what they're telling me. As I'm sitting here talking to you about it, they're telling me. They get very happy. They can feel how happy they get when I start talking about just being happy for no reason, and happiness is coming for you because you exist. If you're sitting here on planet Earth and you've been crying out to the universe, saying, I want to be loved, I want to be happy, I just want to be happy. How would you feel if you knew that the universe said, okay, here it comes. We're going to pull you out of that 3D matrix that you've all chosen to be in. It's time to clock out. It's time it's time to stop working, and it's just time to have fun. And imagine living in a world where that's all you had to do was just have fun. Imagine living in a world where just by having fun, that you end up doing really important things. Like you end up cleaning up the atmosphere, or you end up creating new higher levels of meditation. You end up just by having fun, you shift the DNA in your body, and your child has a higher level of happiness and awareness and spirituality just because you chose to do nothing but have crazy, silly fun your whole life. Imagine living in a world where you're rewarded just for being alive and being happy within your own existence. You get an applause. You get a thank you. You get more happiness. That's the world that I am being told is coming. I never would have believed it. But if I'm honest with myself, this is the world I always knew should exist. And it's been very difficult my whole life. In my spiritual walk, my whole life, it's been very difficult having that feeling, but then seeing the reality in front of me that that's not how this world is. And for me personally, based on all of the stuff that I've had to go through, 12-step work that I've had to do, living with all of the abuse and all of the devaluation that I did throughout my life, that being happy was hard work. Being healthy, being sane was literally the hardest. If I didn't work as hard as I did, I'd be dead. It's taken everything in me to stay alive and recover from the trauma and move beyond it. And now we get to live in a world where, our kids don't have to do that. Anyway, so that's it. I don't really know what else to say. We can leave it at that. If you want to ask me a question, I'll be happy to answer it if I can. And of course, I prefer honest questions. A question is, you think I have the answer to something that you don't. That's a question. Not, asking me a question because you want to make a statement. Sharing a feeling is something I like, and a feeling is I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm whatever. Again, it's not an excuse to tell me that you think Jesus is Lord. Opinions are not feelings. So I'd like to hear your feelings and your questions. Let's see. You can even have honest feeling. I don't like being controlled like this. Don't tell me how to act on a live stream. You could say that. Okay, let's see here. We've got Vincent.thunderwizard.com who says hello. I hope he's feeling better. He is Gebo the Shaman on YouTube, and you can see in the chat here all the stuff that he does. He's one of my Vedic astrologers. He's very good. I recommend him. We have Thundra, Thundra, .thunderwizard.com. She is a very powerful shamanist in her own right. Is that sexist to call you a shamanist? Shamanist? Actually, the word shaman is both male and female, so I guess it kind of is. But you can check out her website, thundra.thunderwizard.com. Zarelath, honest feeling. I love the heat energy from my hands during the Heaven-Earth Qigong. Zarelath, in case you don't know, has been on my channel for a while, and I give people a hard time. I say, how long have you been on my channel and you're not doing the work? So let's be clear. This channel isn't about me talking. Like today, I had absolutely no direction. I was just babbling. This channel is about giving you the tools so that you can do the exercises which will shift your energy vibration up so that you, when the shift comes, as I understand it, it's going to be a pretty intense shift. And it's going to be very sudden. In fact, as I'm saying it, my ET friends are saying, yes, they're agreeing with me. I can feel them say that. So when the shift comes, what's going to happen is depending on how much of your energy, where it's vibrating, is going to depend on how you will react to the shift. If when the shift comes, you've been doing a lot of work, you've been doing a lot of work on yourself, maybe you've been going to counseling, maybe you've been meditating a lot, you've been following a spiritual practice, you've been doing the lightning qigong, which is at thunderwizard.com, like Zeralath is doing. You've been doing whatever, maybe yoga, tai chi, you've been doing something, and you've been dropping all of the self-devaluation stories. You've been learning to love yourself and have compassion for everybody in the universe. You've really worked and you've raised your vibration level up. Well, when the solar flash hits, then it will be a pleasant experience, and you won't be any worse for the wear. But let's say somebody is wrapped up in fear, anger, victim mentality, judging others, devaluing others, criticizing others, devaluing themselves, damaging their body, maybe with chemicals, maybe with just negative thoughts. Maybe somebody is just a really horrible, what we would consider to be a horrible person. Well, when the flash hits, it's going to be challenging for them. There are going to be people that are going to be knocked on their ass. They're going to be knocked out, and it'll take them a while to get themselves together. Other people will be freaked out, and they'll be freaked out because here's the thing about experiencing love. People don't realize this, but feeling devalued, hating yourself is an addiction. It's an addiction that harkens back to wanting to find ways to be loved and accepted by abusive parents or society. So when you're devalued, your instinct is to devalue yourself so that you can sync up with them, because if they're devaluing you, they're devaluing themselves. And so you sync up with that in order to survive. You conflate that with love. And this happens all the time. People who are abused as kids look for abusive partners because they conflate abuse with love. They conflate abuse with being accepted. So when you, and the truth is that we are afraid of love. Truly being loved is very frightening because our deepest fear is that we'll be rejected. It's very ironic, but when somebody fully accepts you, the first response is to be afraid you're going to be rejected. And so we fight against the love. This is why when people are in relationships and they meet somebody and they fall in love, they say, this is so good and I'm so scared. I'm so scared of this. It's so good. Imagine living in a world where you never had to be afraid of feeling loved and loving somebody. So where was I going with all that? So when the solar wave hits, people who haven't been doing the work to love themselves and love others, it's going to be very challenging and it's going to be very frightening. They're going to have to drop all of their stories, all of their negative self stories, which they believe are keeping them alive. They're going to have to drop them. In fact, it'll be taken from them, and it'll be very traumatic for some people. So, if you don't want to have a traumatic experience when the solar wave hits, instantly shifting you up to the next level, then you can get a head start on that by doing what this channel offers, which is if you go here to thunderwizard.com, scroll around and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. That is the most powerful energy practice in the history of the human race. I can say that confidently. It's the only practice that unifies the three most powerful energy systems on the planet. Qigong, Kundalini, which is the awareness, the life force energy, and spiritual awareness. And then the third energy, which almost nobody knows about, which is the lightning center of the heart mind. This is the energy that's used to fight evil spirits. If you want to destroy evil, you use the lightning of the heart center. And almost nobody has ever tapped into it because it's usually dormant, protecting the heart. Now, I'm the only person in the history, to my knowledge, of the human race that's combined all three of these energies into one practice, and I'm not charging you $100,000. And I would be well within my rights to do that. I'm not doing that. You go up here and you subscribe to thunderwizard.com, the lightning qigong. You can practice it, press play, and I take you through multiple levels. There's more stuff coming. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. Or you can go on to the YouTube, thunderwizard.com YouTube channel and look for the playlists and click on any of the playlists that teach any of the practices, any of the meditations, any of the qigong. You can go right now and look for the HUUL breath and the awakening. I can't remember the exact name of it. I think this is it. Awakening the Immortals Qigong. You can go do those right now. They won't cost you anything, and they are incredibly powerful. And here's my challenge to you. Whatever it is that you do something that I've just shared with you every day for a month, for at least a half an hour. I mean, if you can't do a half an hour, do 10 minutes. But you have to do it every day. My challenge to you is to do the HUUL breath and the Awakening the Immortals at the very least every single day for a half an hour for a month. Then come back and tell me that nothing happened. I dare you. All right. The point of this channel is to do the exercises, to do the work. And I can tell if you're not doing the work. In the first few words that you type, I'm going to know. Not because I'm psychic, but just because you can tell if somebody's doing the work or not. So, Zerlath is sharing his experience. He says, I love the heat energy from my hands during the Heaven Qigong. I feel like I'm scanning and stimulating my body with each pass at the end. That is awesome. Zerlath, honest feeling, I feel burnt out repaying all the favors and offers I have accepted. I have gratitude and working on my blocks. Awesome. I'm not quite sure exactly what that means, but it sounds like you're doing a lot of positive stuff there. Don't overdo it. Make sure you take time to take care of yourself. You know, if anything, you know, you can't be of use to other people if you don't take care of yourself. So don't overdo it. Don't be codependently taking care of others. I can't tell, again, from that if you are or not. Yeah, give to others and make sure you take care of you. I always make sure I take care of me first. You know, if the plane is going down and you've got a child, the first thing you do is you breathe the oxygen, put it on, and then you get the oxygen mask for your kid. Because if you try and get the oxygen mask for your kid and you don't put it on yourself first, it's not good. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling. I was extremely sick with the reptilian plague, the C19. I'm extremely grateful to be on the mend with meds, size of horse pills. Oh, okay. I assume that that's code for something. Grateful to be alive and recovering. I'm happy to hear that. Agent of the Universe, honest feeling. What you're saying fills me with joy and hope. I've been wanting this shift for so long. It's been a painful and long journey. I understand. And I feel for you, my friend. Yeah. So I look forward to it as well. And I look forward to everybody, including you, experiencing the freedom that comes from just experiencing your soul. Philip the Prince 777. The way this works, if you look up, you'll see honest feeling in all caps. If you want to write a question, do me a favor, write the word question in all caps, because if you don't, I may miss it, and I don't want to miss your question. Other thing is, it looks like you're new to the channel. If you're new to the channel, best thing to do is to ask questions about what I teach, okay? So if you're not sure if I teach something or not, first look to see in the, go onto the channel and look at all the videos and search, see if I teach it. You say, what's your view on, I don't like those questions. Imagine you're out on a date and you're with a girl, assuming you're a straight guy and you're with a girl, and you see another hot girl walk in. How do you think your girlfriend's going to feel when you go, hey, what is your view of that hot chick over there? So it's bad etiquette to come into a teacher's class and ask him what he thinks of some other teacher's class. It's also lazy because you're asking a question that's not connected to what I'm talking about. It distracts you and it distracts others. Okay? You didn't know that, you're new. And I'm sharing that with you because it's helpful. All the things that I teach you are things that work well when you're working with higher beings. Learning how to ask the right questions, learning how to have the right respectful attitude so your connection to them serves you the most. That question doesn't serve you. You're trying to get me, what's really happening in that question is you're trying to get me to come onto your boat and tell you how cool your boat is. Right? You say, what's your view on Yoruba rogations? Supposed to get one tomorrow. You see? That's awesome. It's not a question. You're not asking me about those things. You want me to give your ego the thumbs up because you're going to go do that. What's my view on it? What if I said, oh my God, those things are horrible? You asked me what's my view on it. What if my view was negative? See what I mean? These kinds of questions put me in a position to potentially badmouth somebody else or something else. It's not really what we're looking for in terms of questions. So I'm happy you're doing something that you feel is going to be helpful for you. I happen to be a Yoruba shamanic drum master, so I know a little bit about what you're talking about. But I welcome you to ask more helpful questions for you. All right. Cademan Vrihir, honest feeling. I'm feeling happy and grateful to be alive during this time. Came back from a concert and feeling elated and accomplished. That's awesome. All right, I don't see any other questions here. I've already done the business. I've told you, where to go, thunderwizard.com. You can go to courses.thunderwizard.com. What's going to be coming soon, assuming that my audiobooks get accepted by Amazon. As soon as that happens, I'm going to start uploading and recording a bunch more audiobooks. So I'm going to be having links so that you can listen to my audiobooks for free in exchange for an honest review. And I'm hoping to create a whole new line of teachings that I can just crank out that will give people more options. And so I'll be bringing that to the channel coming here soon as well. We'll see where it goes. Vincent.thunderwizard.com caught me at the end. He says, question, what Qigong practices do you recommend to help me recover? The same Qigong practices that you've always been doing. There's no special. I mean, if they all work. There's the waterfall meditation. I think you know that one. That I've heard is the most healing Qigong practice there is. I don't know. That's just what I've heard. So that one, you can try that one. I think the HUUL breath, maybe that followed by the HUUL breath. Because again, when you're recovering, you want to rest. You don't want to do heavy stuff. So sometimes sleeping is a good thing. Sleeping, all that stuff, sleeping fluids. There's something else that happens. The reason why we get any kind of illness is because there's something on an unconscious level that needs to make its way out. This is what injuries are. Whenever you get injured, there's always an unconscious message in where you get injured. For instance, the last injury I had a thing called frozen shoulder, which I gave to myself as a result of my first ET encounter, where when I was thrust into a completely different universe that was totally different from what I thought the laws of science were, and my brain couldn't understand it. My left brain, my logical brain, literally started falling apart. My right shoulder went dead. I couldn't lift it. The nerves died. I couldn't lift my arm. And that is, the symbolic. I mean, the right shoulder is the left brain. So if somebody has a right shoulder problem, it means they're having a hard time figuring something out in their logical mind. They're resisting something. So viruses, what they tend to do, like that virus, the flu, colds, you notice that there's a lot of emotions that come up. Like when I had the C19, when I had that, I mean, I was bawling like a little baby. I was crying over just the littlest things. And, it's because I had to release a lot of sadness and trauma about, the death of people that I loved, the fact that I had to leave Australia, all those things. So we find ways to manifest excuses for us to have all our feelings. So besides doing the Qigong, sleep, let yourself have a bunch of feelings. Just release all the feelings that come up, whatever they are. And that's part of the job of what that virus is really trying to do. All right, nothing else? No other questions? Okay, I guess we're done. All right, guys, thank you all. I love you all very much. And I know I'm working on it, but I suggest and invite you to learn how to just let yourself be joyful and happy. And it's okay if you're not. And if you're not, then I encourage you to do the work to find out what is the story behind it. And what can you do to either resolve it or let go of it, so that we can just be our authentic selves, which is when we work through all of the challenges and problems and issues, the only thing that's left is joy. The only thing that's left is bliss. And I hope that we all find that. Okay, that's it. I wish you guys all the happy things in the world, and I will see you all next time.